Vance,
Thank you, guys.
Hold on. We got to pick a title.
Yeah, we still have to pick a title.
What do you mean, pick a title?
So I get to write down things that you two have said that would make a good title for this episode. Oh. So I'm going to read them. I'm going to read them back to you. You let me know your favorite, and we'll use that as the title. Just chronologically. The only reason I'm going is to do research. Has more energy than you do. The sparks came. This is me. She tells it like it is. I got the giggles. Now I'm free. Imagine me not saying a word. This is what life is all about. Or try thinking the Dyan way.
Which one do you guys like?
The last one.
What's that?
Try thinking the Dyan way, I would say.
Yeah. I think that's good. That really kind of covers what they're... You okay with that, Dyan?
Yeah, I'm okay with everything. Yeah.
All right.
Put them all there.
You're my new favorite superhero.
I'm easy.
All right, Baz, you still recording?
Go ahead.
Welcome to season 6, episode 24. Try thinking the Dyan. This is the Rote Podcast. I'm Vance Bastian here with my co-host, S.A. Baz Collins.
Hey, kids.
And we're really glad you're here with us. Our guests today are Dyan Forrest and Stephen Clarke. Dyan Forrest has always done things her way, or her ways, because she's lived a dozen different lives. She's been a desperate Boston housewife, a New York nightclub singer, and a Paris swinger. She's been the only Jewish girl in a Christian choir and the female pianist in the transvestite cabaret. She had day jobs teaching basketball, piano, and sex education. She dated Paris's second ever female bus driver, a transsexual rock guitarist, and a defrocked nun. She also managed to get German friends to visit Nazi concentration camps on her personal quest to understand why her European relatives were massacred. At 86, Dyan is still a working stand-up comedian and musician, but she's much, much more than that, as her hilarious but heartfelt memoir reveals. Dyan, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So, I mean, that's one heck of a bio already. Where did you get your start?
What have you done with your life?
I'm 80.
She's just sitting there going.
I'm still going. 86 years old.
Well, when I grow up, I want to be you. I'm just going to say it now, you know.
Well, that's what they say at the end of my one-woman shows or the comedy. The young women, I want to be you. Okay. I'm an inspiration.
There you go.
I can't stop.
So in relation to your memoir, where did the inspiration come to write it all down? What was that turning point?
The turning point was when I was in Paris and I'd gotten a divorce and I decided to do everything you do in Paris in the 60s. And I did, and it's in the book. I had a wild time. And I said, nobody in Boston is ever going to believe this. Nobody's going to believe what's happening to me. So right then and there, I said, I should write this down. It should be a book. And then when people would ask me, what are you doing tonight? And I tell them about some wild party. And I said, oh, the only reason I'm going is to do research.
Of course.
No, but
it's the total get out of jail card. 50, if I hadn't met, it was all written down because I do it in my comedy, 6 minutes here, 8 minutes there, one-woman shows. But I wanted to really write it, but I'm not a writer. I don't want to sit at
a computer all day long, which I guess is what writers do. So when I met Stephen a couple of years ago, I kept nudging him to maybe he could help me. And finally.
And that sounds, yeah, I was going to say, and that sounds like a perfect point to bring Stephen in. Stephen Clarke grew up in Bournemouth, the Bondi Beach of England, where he played bass in some of the worst rock bands in musical history before leaving town to study French and German at Oxford. After university, he got a series of high-powered jobs in the wine industry, i.e. grape picking, tertiary sector, washing up in a German hotel, and in international diplomacy, teaching English to bored French businessmen. Meanwhile, he started writing novels, all of which remained unpublished due to a vast and never-before-revealed conspiracy in the global publishing industry, until he decided to self-publish. His Paul West series includes a sequel to a sequel, and Stephen also does his bit for nonfiction, though still through his delightful comedic lens. Stephen, welcome to the show.
Thanks.
So you got this invite to collaborate. Before that, I started looking through your book list. You've got some fun stuff going on.
Yeah, I mean, most of my books are sort of comedies. I've got a whole bunch of a series of novels with the word merde in the title, which is similar to the Spanish word, so Americans probably know it. A Year in the Merde, merde actually, Dial M for merde. It's the same hero, an Englishman living in France who gets into all sorts of trouble because he can't speak the language. He doesn't understand the French people, so he just gets into every.
Who does understand the French people?
No, well, the French don't understand themselves.
Well, yeah, there you go.
So no, I've got a bunch of them. I also write history books, and I also on the side, I write songs, and sometimes I go into bars and perform them. If the bar owner wants to sort of empty the place out for a while, they get me to go in there. I start singing some of my songs, and they can start cleaning the tables pretty quickly. But anyway, I also, one of my books, or a couple of my books, have been turned into stage shows. And one evening, I was at a comedy club with one of the actors who was in a show of mine called The Merde Factor, and he's a stand-up comedian. And Dyan was on the bill, and so. We were just talking at the bar. I mean, it was a tiny little sort of basement comedy club, so everyone had to talk to each other. And we were sort of sitting down, chatting away. And Dyan said that she'd got an act in English and she was trying to do it in French, but it's very difficult to translate comedy into another language, Mm-hmm. And I'm bilingual. I speak French and English. And so my partner sort of said, hey, Stephen can do that for you, So I thought...
Don't you love it when they volunteer you?
Yeah. I love comedy, and I'd seen Dyan's act was really funny. She did a sort of 10-minute slot about being a shocking old lady, 86-year-old, and back then she was 84-year-old youngster, and the audience, these young comedy audiences in Paris, they couldn't believe that this woman would get up and tell the truth so sort of starkly about herself, So I thought, yeah, that sounds fun. And I translated some of the stuff into French for Dyan, and she did some in French. And she actually got an audition on the TV show, France Has Got Talent, or whatever you call it, like America, in French.
How did that go?
It was great. She got 3 votes out of 4 judges, because one of the judges was a stand-up comedian whom she knew and didn't get on with, so he voted against her. The others loved her, the audience loved her, and then they just said that they've got their kind of, you understood from what they said, that they've got this kind of quotient of non-French people in the series, so they didn't want anyone else. It was very sad, because Dyan, she did well and should have gone through, really. Anyway, so then we started working on a show together, which is it's kind of about Dyan's life, called Swinging on the Seine, which is all about the swinging times she had, in Paris, mm-hmm. and with songs and music, an hour-long show. And Dyan did that a couple of times in Paris. It went down really well. We did it once together in New York, because obviously I wrote myself into the show. I introduced her as a kind of master of ceremonies at the beginning and in the middle, because I wanted to join in the fun. And
so do you come out like in the ringmaster outfit, because you've got the circus bazaar coming in right after you?
Yeah. you're almost right. What I do is in the middle of this swinging on this end, I put on a black wig, sometimes a moustache, and I come out and talk in a French accent, and I'm the French MC in this transvestite club where she was playing the piano. Hello, tonight we have the French pianist, the American pianist with us. Why in Paris we want the American pianist? We have French pianists, So I come on, I'm like the grumpy Frenchman, and then Dyan goes back to the 60s and starts playing her shows,
Oh,
and that went down really well. And then Dyan said that she really wanted to put everything, because she had so many more stories that you can get into a 1-hour show, She wanted to put everything in a book. So we started putting together the anecdotes she already had in her various acts. Mm-hmm. And then I kind of pulled them together and sort of novelized it a little bit and sort of did dialogues and sort of brought it all together with some new stuff, because there's a very serious side to Dyan as well, which is, she really did go to Germany and she got these German people to show around these concentration camps. It's absolutely amazing when you read about it. So it's a great story. You start out in the 1930s in a sort of quite traditional Jewish household in a neighborhood where there aren't that many Jews yet, and so they have to hide the fact that they buy a Christmas tree, but some of the neighbors don't like to see a Christmas tree in a Jewish house. It's very complicated. Can they join the golf club or not? All that sort of stuff, which to me as an English person was amazing. Thinking that in America, Jewish people couldn't join a golf club. The war for. So and there's this whole story which is comedy. I mean, all their adventures in the 60s are amazing about, in these clubs and everything where she was playing and going out with this woman who was the bus driver, the historic figure, the second ever woman bus driver. I've met her, she's a fun, sort of butch little lady who's sort of real tough. You had to be tough to get on as a woman in the 60s.
Right. Well, you do now, too.
Yeah.
Not much has changed.
Yeah, as a bus driver, you can imagine. But back in the 60s, there were only 2 of them. And Dyan went out with one of them, So she had all these stories. So we put it together in the book. And that's it, really. It's kind of, pulling together Dyan's comedy side. But also there's this real sort of progression from a very traditional Jewish household, then becoming a sort of getting married to the wrong fella, sort of partly chosen by her parents, being a sort of desperate Boston housewife, and then suddenly breaking free into Paris. And, it's a great story that, which goes through, and it's still going on. As Dyan said, we're just waiting for her to be able to get back on stage again. The story is still going on.
So I have to ask, because I'm curious. She said you were initially resistant.
Well,
what was that about? And what was the turning point?
Yeah.
Resistant. No, I mean, I wasn't exactly resistant. I just thought, have I got time to do this?
Okay.
Have I got time? Because I was working on a novel of my own, so have I got time? And then, I enjoyed the idea because, working with Dyan is great fun because having someone of 86-year-old who's 86 who has more energy than you do, you kind of think, I've got to keep up. So, okay, I'm doing a novel, but surely I can do something else at the same time. Where's my energy level? It's got to be high. I'm only 62. I should be jumping off the rooftops. If I'm comparing my energy to hers. So I wasn't exactly resistant. I was thinking, I've got time. And then, sort of horrific miracle, lockdown happened, so I had even more time. And I really did spend the whole of lockdown.
So it's your fault we were all locked down because the muses said, well, we need to give this guy some time.
Yeah.
So
yeah. So we just phoned Beijing and said, we need some
right. That whole bat thing, could you get that going for us?
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Can we order a few bats and send them to a market? And then
All right. Dyan, in the memoir, which is your favorite anecdote?
What is my favorite anecdote?
Yeah. Which one do you love to tell? Which one is the one that you just were tickled to share?
I love to tell about my first wild party. It changed my life. Yeah. And I never told it till I started doing comedy. And I figured people wouldn't accept it. But they laugh. They love it. But the other one in the story is the first one before I was born, and Stephen helped write it. He heard the story of how I was almost born in a lake. And that's also a very favorite story because it's so true. My mother got her, her labor pains in the lake and said, oh, okay, I'm ready. So they're all my favorite.
All right. I want to hear it. I want to hear the party story, actually. Because it sounds like, so this has happened after you've had your divorce and you've decided to try living.
Yes.
And so this was the first big party?
Yes, I was, a true Bostonian Jewish girl, and you didn't have sex before marriage. And in college, we had curfews of 10 p.m. or maybe a midnight on Saturday. So I knew nothing, absolutely nothing. And so I came back to Boston and I wanted to go to law school. My father was a lawyer. And they said, oh, no, you'll never get married if you go to law school and become a lawyer. So, of course, they introduced me to a young lawyer and sort of pushed me to get married. And I didn't know nothing about sex or anything. And wow, it was very disappointing. So after 3 years of this, my parents said, no, stay, it will get better. No. So after 3 years of this, I started to get a divorce and I go to Paris. And so now I'm free of Boston and my parents and the Jewishness, because in Paris, my name was Diana Schulman, so they all think you're German. They don't even think you're American.
All right, I can see that.
So you're free. You're free. And so I hanged out in Montparnasse and met somebody, and I wanted to do things. So this fellow says, I'm going to take you to a nice party. Okay, I'm ready. And I go to this party, and oh my gosh, you had to take your clothes off and all that kind of stuff. And I was shocked out of my mind. And he told me before I went, he said, you mustn't talk at this party. I'm going to talk for you, because I don't want them to know you're American. So I didn't say a word. You imagine me not saying a word for this next 4 or 5 hours. And then what I saw and blah, 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 what I did, it changed my life. And that's.
I love that you had to do it as a mute.
And now I realize he was, being the boss, the dog. I didn't even know anything. But it's true. He didn't want anybody to know.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Because that started from age 28 on, the second part of my life.
So people need to understand, I mean, for all intents and purposes, you are the original Mrs. Maisel. You literally live that life where, because that's exactly what she gets a divorce, she goes to Paris, so there are similarities. It really is amazing that in real life, you are that person. You are the person who literally decided, I'm a woman, but I'm going to take life by the reins and live my life.
And then I went to this club just to, I'm seeing everything in Paris, called Elle et Lui, she and he. And I was living at the Cité Universitaire nearby, and you go there, and it's a lesbian club with singers and a gay club with singers. And I was there, and I watched what got on, and I met one of the singers. So she invited me to sing there the next week, Maria Vincent. So I says, okay. So I go there, and then upstairs in the room, I meet all these guys that I thought were girls. And it took me an hour to realize they're girls or guys. I don't know. It's a mixed up life.
Right.
And then I go downstairs, and I do Hello Dolly in front of these French people, and it went over not too good because they weren't into Hello Dolly. So then I did La Vie en Rose, and it went over great. And that's what I did in my first year in Paris, was absolutely entertaining in Paris, like Mrs. Maisel. In my life.
Yeah, I was going to say, except you're in real life. You know, you're the real deal.
I'm real deal. And this was after my divorce in 63, 64. When I
Wow.
was.
Wow.
I love that.
Yes, yes. And I think the part of the beauty of it is, and this is where queerdom, you know, has a real thing with ageism. And I think what I love about your story is that you have truly lived a life worth telling because of all the experiences you had, going from that naive woman who didn't know anything to then having the world completely unfold before you. And you managed to still hold on to the reins of life. And that is a testament to your strength as a human being. That is just so heartwarming to know that you had that kind of experience. Because I think most people are just armchair curious about things like that. They never really experience life. But my gosh, dear, you certainly have. You've eaten from the lotus.
You know, and I kept my inner core. That's what.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's what that definitely comes across.
But I go back to Boston, or I'm in New York, and I'm my inner core. But then there's that other core. But at least I kept.
Right. No. I love that Stephen says it's still happening. It's still going on.
Yeah, but let's wait till this goes away.
Oh, that's just brilliant. That's wonderful.
Let's hope we travel again.
Yes.
So how has it been with two comedians collaborating on a single project?
Stephen?
No, it's been great because, you know, Dyan is the real stage person. She lives to be on stage. You can, you know, I've literally seen Dyan when she had some health problems just before the audition for France's Got Talent. She had terrible health problems, back problems. One of her vertebrae collapsed and had to be pumped with some kind of silicone or something, and she was on painkillers.
Oh, cement.
Yeah. And so we went along to this audition, and there were all these performers everywhere. There's this huge waiting room, and the producers were coming over and saying, can you go and talk to this performer who's like half horse, half transvestite? Also, you know, there were these weird performers there, and they were all very exactly. It was very lively. It was very theatrical and everything. And so Dyan was having to do this on painkillers, in real pain. And so between interviews, she was like lying down on the sofa, you know, trying to keep some energy together in real pain. And it was like difficult to see, you know. And then they said to Dyan, okay, right, you're on next. And suddenly, boom, you know, the sparks came and she was on stage. And so Dyan is that person. And I'm much more of okay, I'll sit at home and I'll concentrate and I'll write, you know, lines. I'll come up with lines and jokes and everything. So it's really great because Dyan is very open, very welcoming. So, you know, you say to her, hey, I've got this idea for a song or a joke or whatever. And she'll say, great, you know, let's do it. And then when she does it, she says, this bit didn't work. That bit worked. Can we have more of that bit and less of this bit? What can we do? And so she's got the practical skills, and because she's not at all, you know, snobbish or anything like that. She tells you straight, you know, that worked, that didn't work. Let's go with what worked. And which is great for a writer, because quite often when you write something, you get people who say, oh yeah, I really like that. I really like it. But then, okay, they don't want to publish it or whatever, but oh yeah, it was really great. You know, it was just the wrong kind of great, you know, for us.
Yeah, whatever that is.
Exactly, yeah. Whereas Dyan says, yeah, I really like that bit there, that line, but maybe that line is a bit too vulgar for me. Because funnily enough, Dyan's whole act and the book as well, although she's telling these outrageous things, it's not at all vulgar. It's true, you know, but there's hardly any of what you in America call cuss words. It's true. So it's kind of quite, you know, open and descriptive of these sexy things, but it's not vulgar. And the stage, she's the same on stage, so she really tells you, okay, let's try and keep it at my level. So when I'm writing sort of jokes for her or writing dialogues, like trying to imagine how her parents would talk, she says, oh no, my dad would never say that, or yeah, my mum said exactly things like that. And so she really tells you how to feed her lines, which is everything you want from a performer. If you're giving the performer lines, you need to know that's exactly how they want to speak. And so it's been great working with Dyan, because it's like I have a kind of slightly overproductive mind, not in necessarily a good way. I can, sometimes I'm having a serious conversation and I can't prevent myself saying something completely stupid just because I think it sounds funny, but sometimes it can go horribly wrong.
Right.
But it just sounded funny to me, so I said it. Oh, sorry, it didn't work. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to insult you. But so when Dyan needs some stuff, we work together and we sort of talk about ideas, and they're sort of there. And then Dyan's really good at saying, okay, that really worked well. Let's do it like this way. And so that's why the book, I think, is so readable, because it's absolutely Dyan, but we've kind of built it together, and I've sort of novelized it. So we've put our two skills together. Because if you read it, Dyan is currently reading the audiobook, and it kind of reads like a stage show almost, because it's like her voice. It's like, because I've written stage stuff for her as well. So it's kind of like her voice, and it's the way Dyan speaks on stage. So it's really been great fun. It's very different from, writing a novel where it's just everything is in my head. And this is bringing Dyan to life on stage as she does. So it's been very rewarding, because there's so much to tell in Dyan's story, and it's just how to structure it, how to order it. That's all, because it's all there. There's loads of details to get out there.
Right. I mean, how do you distill a life led like that down to one novel?
Well, it's not a novel. It's it's a story.
Well, memoir. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there is a kind of there's a theme going through there, which is the thing is, the book is called I Did It My Ways, which, as you said, and as Dyan said, she kept her core, and although her life was a whole load of like a bumper car roller coaster, she kept her focus and kept going. It basically in one direction, which is that it seems to me anyway, Dyan, you can correct me if you want here, but what Dyan is saying to the world is like, this is me, this is what I want to do. If you don't like it, that is your problem. I'm not doing anything to offend you. Some people don't like Jewish, formerly bisexual, sometimes gay, sometimes heterosexual performers who sing songs about being old. Some people don't like that. But I'm going to do it anyway, and I hope you like it. And that's been her whole attitude throughout life is, I want to do this. I hope you like it.
Which is exactly what art is about. That is literally the definition of art.
Yeah. So when we were putting together the book, we stuck to stories which are in that direction. So everything where Dyan is expressing her personality through her life story is in there, because there's so much to tell of her being her, and kind of not defying the world, because she's not doing it to be a rebel. She's just doing it because this is her.
Right.
It almost sounds like
on stage and says shocking things.
It almost sounds like not defiance so much as just jumping into it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, let's go for it. Yeah, let's get on stage. And she says, okay, I'm going to go on stage. I'm going to talk about this. I'm going to sing about this. And let's hope they laugh. And usually they do.
All right.
Well, I want to take a small turn on the serious points in your novel. Because, one of the things as I was growing up, I always wondered when I watched things about the concentration camps and so forth. And I went to the Resistance Museum in Denmark, in Copenhagen, and I was highly impressed with that. And although I heard it burnt down and they had to rebuild. But what I really want to know about, because as I grew up, my question was, how could this have happened? How could, this is me as a young boy, how could this have happened? How could people just stand by and not say something? And then we had 4 years of Trump, and I'm like, oh, I get it now. I know how it happens, I mean, you get one authoritarian in front of you and another, and you see in real time how it happens. But for you, what was the driving point where you said, I really want an answer to this? And what did you find out?
Yeah, well, when my uncle came over in the 30s and said he had a daughter my age, he was from Latvia, and then I'll meet her after the war. I was a 3 or 4-year-old, and I'm waiting. I got a cousin, and he went with UNRWA after the war to be an interpreter, etc. And he ended up in Riga, Latvia, and he found that everyone had gotten killed. Everyone had gotten killed. And he came back heartbroken, moved to California, etc. But that always haunted me. So I went with a friend about 25, 30 years ago when they opened up, and I went to Moscow, and then I met the aunt who had survived Siberia, his sister who was in Russia at the time, and I started hearing about it in broken Yiddish, German, whatever. And then the next year went to Auschwitz, etc., because now I'm interested. And then finally I ended up in Riga, and we stayed in a bed and breakfast, a girlfriend and I, and we found out where my relatives, his wife and daughter, had lived. And we went up to the apartment on the 5th floor, no lights, and the Russian family that was now living there, this was 25 years ago, I don't know, and they wouldn't let us in. But we went to where 3 miles away, probably everybody was killed, including my relatives. So after that, I was so shocked that I started going to many other concentration camps, and in Germany, wherever I could go. And I've been to 10 of them. And the last one I went to was Buchenwald. That was before the pandemic, with my German sort of boyfriend in Berlin. And we go there. And then I also went to museums at the same time. They now are being much more open, and now they're writing books. I'm always asking why, and now the books are coming out this year or last year of how the Germans got propagandized and how the Jews weren't really human. They were non-human, etc. And it was propaganda. So after Buchenwald, I think now I've figured it out. Why? And the last thing I want to do is go up to Berchtesgaden, the Eagle's Nest, where Hitler had all these, his sort of wife, etc. And he would meet everybody in the Alps while the war was going on. And that's where I want to go as a last thing. And because here I lost all my family, the cousin, I finally met one aunt from Riga who had escaped into the woods. And she came to America to get the $5,000 that my grandfather gave her. So I actually met somebody who had been there, and they survived by just going into the woods near Minsk or somewhere until the war was over. Wow. So it's why is now being explained in all the books, and it's propaganda was what did it.
Yep. Which is why the whole war on misinformation, we all have, and it's not just an American thing that we're dealing with here. It's around the world. There are I can't even talk now.
Authoritarian.
Yeah, thank you. I can't get past the TH. Authoritarian regimes that are springing up all over the place, and it's truly frightening. You had that one journalist who was kidnapped in Belarus, wasn't it? Where he was right in the air. All norms and values that as a world we typically shared out the window when that moment happened.
Yeah. But what interests to me, people who read my book, they ask me questions about the sex, about the anti-Semitism, about Paris. and nobody asks me any questions or talks about the Holocaust. It's very, very interesting.
Wow.
That they don't bring up.
Right.
And to me, that's one of the most important parts.
Right. No, absolutely. Absolutely. Which is why I wanted to make sure we covered it, you know.
Fascinating. Thank you.
Yeah. No. Like I said, I went to the Resistance Museum in Denmark, and because my husband had lived there for a period of time, and we went to that museum, and I was just so blown away with what the Danes did to protect the Jewish population, you know, and in fact, you know, one of the best stories my husband tells, because he actually met King Frederick, but he said that, you know, Frederick said, you know, if the Jews have to wear yellow stars, then every Danish citizen will wear yellow stars, you know, and it's just, it was so emotional watching all of those presentations and the different aspects to that museum. I was deeply moved when I came out of there, and literally that only added the fuel to that fire of why, how could this happen? How could people have let this happen? And you're right. I mean, it is one of the most important parts of our history that we need to keep an eye on. We can't let these deniers have control of the conversation about it. So kudos to you for including it in the story. That's very, very good.
Thank you.
Yes.
Is there anything else about the memoir you want to share, either of you?
To me, what you were just saying is Dyan spotted something which I hadn't spotted before, which was, actually I did spot it once, but she's brought it out, is that these concentration camps are quite often like just through the forest or across the lake from quite a charming little German village, you know, where life just carried on normally during the war.
Right.
You know? And she spots this. She says, you know, when she gets there, sometimes it's almost embarrassing for the German people she's with, because they drive through this lovely little village and then you just go around the lake and then you're in the concentration camp. And they must have seen what was going on. They knew.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
People arriving, you know, but they didn't say anything, didn't do anything.
Well, I remember there was somebody that I read or watched a video recently on YouTube where they said in one town, when the screams and the horrors began, people would just close their windows and draw the drapes.
Yeah.
That was the way they dealt with it. And it was like, are you kidding me? You know, I mean, just mind-boggling. You know, it is amazing, truly amazing what humans are capable of, you know, in every, you know, that's it.
The Buchenwald is like 6-7 miles above Weimar, and you think of Weimar as the
right. Mm-hmm.
center. And they were 8 miles, and all these people in these villages sent their people to work up in these camps, where all of them, they all knew about it. That to me was one of the biggest surprises. I thought they were in the middle of nowhere. No. They're out near everything.
Which just goes to show how little respect the Nazis had for even German culture, because Weimar, you know, is the town of the most famous German writers, Goethe and Schiller. You know, Goethe lived there, and worked there. You know, it's this ancient town that's famous for him. There's also, it was a very artistic city just after the First World War too. You know, it's a great cultural capital, and yet they built a concentration camp, you know, 8 miles away. The Nazis didn't care anything about Germany, really. It's just, it's rubbish. You know,
and it was also, you know, the otherness of you know, queer people. Literally, they had a vibrant queer community in Germany at the time, and then in a span of a few months, gone, obliterated, like it never happened. And that truly is shocking how fast things can turn on a dime. You know,
they had an exhibition in the Museum of New York about it a couple of years ago, and when I went there, hardly anybody went, but there was a whole documentation and photos and everything.
Wow, that must have been incredible.
Yeah.
Do you ever include this serious aspect in any of your shows? Because one of the things I find interesting is that, and some of the most powerful comedic shows. I mean, I think of like Whoopi Goldberg's big one where she did on Broadway, where she did the comedy, but there was always that nuance of drama that weaved itself in to bring you back, so that you knew the comedy had a point. It actually drove that message. Have you ever experimented with trying to bring some of the more dramatic things as a juxtaposition to the comedy, or is it just strictly comedy that's in its own?
No, in my one-woman shows, I bring up like the breakup of my 25-year marriage to the nun, and so, or the ex-nun, as we say, and so that is the tragic, etc. But I've never brought in the Holocaust and never really brought in illnesses. But I keep the drama going. What else do we do, Stephen? Do you?
You're right, because I mean, it's very difficult to do comedy about the Holocaust, and it's something so horrific.
Yeah.
You're not going to make a joke.
I've never done it.
No, but I think you can thread, not necessarily humor out of it, but I think one of the things that you can always point to is like the comedic element of the disparity in those kinds of situations. I think what I'm trying to get at is that, going back to Whoopi Goldberg's show, she would do a routine and she would have you laughing, and then she would draw one line out that laid the dramatic foundation for why that humor was wrong. Because we all know comedy is born of pain. That's where it comes from in many respects. It always is born of some sort of pain in some sort. And it's just the human condition to try and survive it and deal with it.
Well, sometimes, comedy can be just born of having to want to have a bit of fun, which Dyan does.
True.
Sometimes
that's what I said, almost always, yeah.
Who wants to enjoy stuff? Yeah. But Dyan has enough drama going on without.
Right.
In the book.
Move over, Meryl Streep.
In the book, there is space to mention the Holocaust and mention really serious stuff. On stage, in an hour-long show, when she does Swinging on the Seine, there is a lot of drama in there about being accepted in various worlds, because, the book's called I Did It My Ways, because there are lots of ways she does things which shock American people a lot. Some things she couldn't tell American people that she was doing, and or not just American people, French people as well. So there is an undercurrent.
Wow, you shot the French? I'm impressed.
Now even more.
You can shock the French. I mean, the French have a big thing about, I'm so sexy, But in fact, there are a lot of things that most French people wouldn't dare do, and and Dyan has done them, with French people as well. But no, I mean, there is an undercurrent of drama and being accepted who you are, which is a very difficult thing for lots of people, to be accepted as exactly who you are. And the thing which is fascinating about Dyan on stage in her act as well is there's kind of no compromise. This is me. I'm now going to tell you a joke about, droopy boobs. I'm going to sing a song about that. Okay, maybe you don't like it, but it's my reality, so I'm going to do it. And there's a lot about that, of being the drama of being, who you are.
Of just life.
Yeah,
right.
And not pretending, or rarely pretending. At first, Dyan had to pretend, towards her parents and everything, and her husband, and but then after her Paris awakening kind of thing, she was able to be herself in Paris. But then going back to Boston, going back to New York, even sometimes there were things she couldn't really tell, and she had to come back to Paris to be free again. So there's quite a serious drama in there about where you can be yourself, without being afraid of it. There's a lot of drama without bringing horror into it.
Right.
I figured I'm 86, and when I'm writing a book, I says, oh, God, the people at the country club, which is very Jewish. We're everybody, but a lot of Jewish people my age say, oh, my God, well, the hell, I'm 86. I'll write it. I don't care. So there's always that undercurrent. And believe it or not, some of the people aren't really talking to me there this year.
Wow. So impressed. So Are you guys ready for some get to know you questions?
Get to know you questions?
Yeah, these are our rapid fire questions. Don't worry, I'll be gentle. Oh, so this year is getting to know thyself. So in that vein, Dan, let's do what habit has mattered to you the most in getting through the last year or so?
Say that again, please.
What habit has mattered to you the most in getting through the last? Yeah.
Habit?
Yeah. What habit has mattered to you the most in getting through the last year during lockdown? What helped you cope?
Well, we couldn't perform on stage.
Right.
So the producer where I perform a lot of the Gotham started doing Zoom. And I said, I'm not doing that. I'm too good for that. So I said, oh, what the heck. So about twice a month, we'd do Zoom, and I would do my comedy. And so this way, for a couple of days or a week before, I'd had to figure out. Then I did the Zoom, and you know who's watching me? Just me on this Zoom. It's ridiculous. But I did it, and it kept me going, and I even wrote a new show. I had a heart attack almost a year ago, and that threw me more than the epidemic, because all of a sudden I can't breathe and walk. I can breathe and do everything, but I couldn't breathe and walk. And I had to keep going to doctors because they told me I was too fat, and I didn't believe it. And I went to 5 doctors, and now we sort of found out it's liquid retention that's not helping the heart breathe. So I put this all in the comedy, and now, because I never talk about illnesses, and now I'm doing it in the comedy, and it works on stage. That's the habit that has kept me going.
You were able to hone your craft.
Still perform one way. And then writing the book with Stephen kept me going through this whole worst part of the COVID. And I'd call him up, I gotta do this. And he'd encourage me and make me laugh. So I owe a lot of him for keeping me on the
Excellent. Stephen? How about you, Stephen?
Well, my habit was has to be making reasonable coffee. Because
okay, you need to find that.
Before lockdown, every morning I would go out to the cafe on the corner. Read the newspaper. I live in Paris, so go to the cafe in the corner, read the newspaper, and have a coffee. And they know me there, so sometimes I just walk in, and suddenly the newspaper was in front of me, and the coffee was in front of me. And I would just spend half an hour there, maybe chat to some of the people who, in the neighborhood, and then come back and start working. But in lockdown, I learned how to make my own coffee because the cafe was closed. Right. And I realized I gained about 2 hours of life per day. and really, really productive time. So I make myself a coffee, like Italian style coffee, not, French Italian style, strong espresso. Right. I make it for myself, and I'm sort of sitting down in front of the computer, like almost 2 hours before I normally would. And so I've got so much done because of that. So making coffee has been my life skill.
That's great.
New habit.
That is brilliant. All right. Well, Stephen, we'll start with you. What's one thing you did more of in 2020 that you enjoyed and will continue to do?
Wow. What did I do more of? I did more cooking.
Yeah, which that's always a good thing.
Yeah, because we had to cook. And usually I never spent much time cooking because I always thought, it's quite boring cutting vegetables, for example. I'm sort of semi-vegetarian, so it's quite boring cutting vegetables. And I never really took much time to do it before. And during lockdown, of course, you've been at home most of the day. In Paris, we were only allowed out for an hour a day, So you go out, buy some food, and then come back. And then I found it quite relaxing and therapeutic to sort of cut vegetables and make different dishes. And I hope I'll keep going on that. Now you see, now the trouble is that these Paris cafes have opened up again. So,
so you've lost your 2 hours now.
No, I haven't yet. I've been quite disciplined in the morning, but
there you go.
Evenings, it's nice and sunny here at the moment. Cafe terraces are open, and it's very tempting to go out and eat. Because in Paris, you can eat pretty cheaply and pretty well anywhere, and so that's a bit tempting. But I hope I'll keep going on the cooking. Yeah.
Bravo. Okay. Well, Dyan, what about you?
Well, the main thing I did when March 18th happened, the beginning of the pandemic, I went to Southampton, where I have a small condo, and I started playing golf in 40, 50-degree weather. And you had to carry your own clubs, and you had to have your own push carts, and there are no bathrooms on the course. And that's what I did, and play golf. And it's mostly only guys. I'm the only woman, but that kept me going. And then at night to read books, and that's where I got a lot of reading in. While everybody else is watching Netflix, I read. So that kept me sane during the worst part of the
All right. Well, what's one thing you did less of in 2020 that you realized you probably don't need anymore?
One thing less?
Is there something you just went, well, why was I doing this?
No sex.
That's my girl. That's my girl right there.
I mean, I couldn't get on these dating sites once to get on a date. You know, none of that. So I read books.
Okay, Stephen, what about you?
Well, mine is what I'm saying. You know, Dyan, she tells it like it is. You know, mine would be. I'm a writer, so basically I'm a fairly antisocial type of person. I mean, I quite like getting together and, you know, meeting friends and stuff, but I've realized that it's very sad, but I can get by with a lot less social contact. Like meetings, you know, who needs a meeting? You know, we can do all this in 10 minutes on the computer. We can come to all our decisions. I don't need to go across Paris, you know, take half an hour, sit in an office, be nice to somebody, and then come out again. You know, I can just do it in 10 minutes and it's done, and I can get back to what I do, what I enjoy doing most, or, well, what I'm most successful at in a way is writing stuff. You know, and done enormous amounts of that during lockdown. I mean, the different projects and everything, including Dyan's book. And I just realized it's a bit sad, but you can, as long as you have, you know, if you, you know, I have a partner, so I'm lucky. I have, so, you know, we get on great even during lockdown, so that's fine. But outside the very sort of close circle of friends, I've realized there are people I haven't seen for a year, and I'm thinking, do I mind? You know,
no, really, seriously.
You know, I've got close friends who I see like every week, and I have been seeing, you know, even during lockdown, we sort of met up very quickly and had picnics. You know, you bring your sandwiches, I'll bring mine, but very few. And so I've realized that, in fact, I'm probably pretty antisocial. I can get by with fewer contacts, you know, which is maybe a bit sad, you know.
We'll see.
Yeah. Okay. Well, there you go. Well, what makes you feel motivated, inspired, or excited, Dyan?
Motivated is the travel. If I'm traveling and I'm learning things, and that's what I'm missing the most now. And that's what gets me going. I love traveling to all over the different countries, and my big expense is bringing home a local painting and then doing my house with and I have no more room now because I always bring in
So that just means you have to get another house. You know?
I'm waiting for. I have a storage room for all the old paintings.
Okay.
Waiting till I make a lot of money, then I'll get a big mansion.
There you go.
People in Southampton.
Right. There you go.
But that's what motivates me, and not yet. We're not really doing it. Yeah.
All right. We're getting there, though.
Right. We're getting there, little bit by little bit. Okay, Stephen, what makes you feel motivated, inspired, or excited?
Well, you know, Dyan and I, we speak probably about 3 times a week, I would say. And both of us have been talking about when we'll be able to put the stage show Swinging on the Ten back on again. Oh. And we did it once in New York in a great comedy club where you know, all these performers' names are on the wall, like Joan Rivers and Woody Allen and people like that performed at this club, and we did the show there. And so I think Dyan as well. I'd really love to be able to get back to New York when things open up again and do this stage show again, because it's great fun. You know, I only spend about 3 minutes on stage, but you know, being there watching Dyan, seeing the stage show again and doing my little part of it was such a great experience last time. For a European, performing in a New York comedy club is huge. And, it's great fun as well. So I'm really motivated by the idea of actually traveling to New York, crossing the Atlantic again, after all this time, and then putting on the show. That'd be great fun.
Lovely. Mm-hmm. All right. You should get that lensed and then start a YouTube channel. Get that up there. Start broadening your fan base. I'm telling you.
What do you mean?
You would be a hit. You would be a major hit. I'm telling you. All right. Well, what 3 words describe you best? Let's start with Stephen.
3 words. I would, 3 words to describe me best.
A writer at loss for words. That's interesting.
There are so many. How can I?
Oh, okay. Of course.
I would say English, because I'm rather English, I realize. Opinionated, because
that's English.
I think it's also, when you promote books, you get invited onto TV and radio shows quite a lot. Right. And I'm lucky living in France, because anytime anything royal happens, if Harry sneezes and Meghan doesn't sneeze, the French will have a TV. Right. And and what with like births and unfortunately deaths in the royal family, I get invited onto these French news shows like every week, and I have to, I'm not exactly a royalist. I like the Queen, and I think the royal family does serve a purpose in Britain, which is showing politicians that they're not really very important, because there's something longer term going on, Right. And so, but I'm not really a royalist. But they ask me these things, and I have to have an opinion. Then I have an opinion. I realize I do. You ask me a question, I have an opinion. I'll go on TV and I'll talk about it, even if it's complete nonsense. So English, opinionated, and I'd probably say beer, because that kind of shapes my personality quite a lot.
Oh, well, there you go. Nothing wrong with that. All right. Dyan?
I would say I'm fun, intellectual, and friendly. I'll talk to anybody. So,
okay. I'll add goddess to that list, because I think you're one.
Oh, thank you.
All right. So what's your proudest accomplishment, Dyan?
Me?
Yeah.
My proudest accomplishment is that I can do comedy. I was a singer, pianist, and cabaret for years, and that I'm successful in the comedy clubs. People laugh at me. And the other success is that I finally got the book written because of Stephen Clarke. So those are my 2 biggest accomplishments.
Brilliant. All right, Stephen?
Well, I must say, in a way, I do agree with Dyan that it's true, when you get up on stage and you say something and some people laugh, that is a huge accomplishment, because it can only be sincere. But laughter is, either it's not there or it's there, and if it's there, it's because they really think they think it's funny, except when it's like a sitcom and they have the laugh track. But this is when you're on stage and you make people laugh. That is a huge thing.
No. It's like a drug,
But it's a huge pleasure, and you kind of think, wow, they actually think it's funny. And I remember a long time ago, my first novel, well, my biggest achievement has to be my first novel, which was called A Year in the Merde. I wrote it. I had an agent who tried to publish it. And basically what she said to me was, I'm not sure English people anyway, want to read about the French, what do they care? And so I had this book. So I thought, okay, I'll publish it myself. And so I got a cover put together. I got a friend to typeset it. I put it out there, and it became an internet hit, and it has now sold millions of copies, and it set me up as a writer. And I remember the first time I did a reading, it was actually in the street outside a bookshop in Paris. The book hadn't sold then very many copies, and it was my first ever reading. And I opened up and I started reading, and there were about 40 people in the audience, only 20 of whom I'd paid to be there. So I started reading, and people were laughing. And I thought, wow, maybe this book is actually quite good. And they were laughing, and I got the giggles, and I started laughing, and we were all laughing together. And I thought, wow, maybe there is something here, you know. And it went on to become an internet sort of viral success. And, you know, it took me all over the world. And, you know, one of my fondest memories is going on a book tour of America and lying in the Chelsea hotel. I was lying in bed in the Chelsea Hotel in New York, doing radio interviews, going across the United States. So I was doing like, hello, you know, radio New York, and then radio Philadelphia, and then I was going west, up in, you know, all from my bed in the Chelsea Hotel. And I was thinking, you know, this is what life is all about, you know. And it was, you know, and that achievement, my achievement for myself has been, you know, I set myself up as a writer by publishing it myself and saying, okay, a bit like Dyan, you know, do you like this? If you do, you know, read it. If you don't, that's my, you know, tough for me. But they did. And it set me up. And that's how I got to meet people like Dyan, because, you know, once you've written stuff and it's out there, people get in contact with you and say, you know, would you want to be in this project? Do you want to be in that project? Which is how I met Dyan, which is how, you know, we ended up together on a stage in New York, which for me was a massive achievement, you know, getting laughs together. And now we've done the book, and which is, I think, is a big achievement. Getting all of Dyan's life into one book is, you know, quite an achievement. And so, you know, for me, the achievement is, you know, like Dyan's adventures, it's still ongoing. The sort of massive achievement of being lucky enough to be out there writing stuff that people read and like, and then actually being on stage and seeing Dyan on stage saying the words, you know, and getting laughs, and people actually thinking it's funny. You know, even now, when Dyan gets up there and she sings one of the songs we've put together, you know, comedy song, then people laugh. You think, even now, you think, wow, that's great. That's such an achievement.
Excellent. Okay, this next one I'm going to start with Stephen, because I am totally frightened for what Dyan's going to say. So, what is the most daring thing you've ever done, Stephen?
Daring thing I've ever done. Well, I once told my daughter she had to be back before midnight. That was pretty daring.
And you lived to tell the tale.
Yeah. No, I mean, daring. When I went to Oxford, but when I went to Oxford as a sort of from a poor background, on a full scholarship, but when I got there, it was all people like Boris Johnson with loads of money, loads of self-confidence and everything, which turned me quite political. So I spent a lot of my time when I was at university demonstrating about stuff, you know. And one of my, I must say, my daring moments was the then Foreign Secretary of the UK, a man called Lord Carrington. Actually, I'm going to reveal something which might get me arrested now, but anyway. He came to Oxford to visit the college, right? And this was during the Falklands War, which cynics like me, this is in the 1980s, it thought that it was just Mrs. Thatcher putting on a patriotic war to get herself re-elected, which is a cynical view, but, you know, take it or leave it. A lot of us were against that war because, you know, going out into the South Atlantic and having people killed over a couple of islands, you know, it sounded a bit absurd to us. And Lord Carrington, the Foreign Secretary, so one of the people responsible for the war, came to Oxford and he visited this beautiful Oxford College, right? And when he was there, a friend and I, we opened the window of our room and we put on really loud on the stereo the Sex Pistols' "God Save the Queen," you know, where the song, "God Save the Queen," you know, we mean it, man, you know, and we put it on really loud, but with the window open, we were hiding, and there were sort of windows everywhere, and we could see like the Foreign Secretary and everyone looking up, where's this music coming from? And we just totally ruled that courtyard. They had to go away, you know, because this punk song, which is, you know, I like Queen, but the Sex Pistols did a great, you know, "God Save the Queen" in like end of 70s, early 80s was such a sort of, it's a very funny song.
Yes.
But it's a very daring song, and a sort of very honest song. And, you know, to do that to the Foreign Secretary at the time, I could have got thrown out of Oxford for doing it if they'd caught us, you know. Luckily they didn't, because you do actually get quite a good education there. But I thought that was pretty daring. And it was a musical event as well. So that was good.
Excellent. Okay, everyone, hold on to your seats. What's the most daring thing, Dyan?
Well, of course, the wild party.
Right.
Very daring. But what is more daring, and even now, to tell people that I'm bisexual. Believe it or not, it's very hard for me. I just play the game, whoever I'm with, at the golf club or wherever, and then to really, when somebody asks or it comes up, that is the most daring thing to me, because I'm from the 40s, 50s, 60s, where it's always a no-no. We only had one book, The Well of Loveliness, to know of it. Well of Loneliness, right? We didn't know anything. And so it's like a part of my life that I keep separate, because a lot of people over 60 don't understand it. That for me is very, very daring.
And and it speaks to what queer people have to deal with even today.
Yes.
You still, and it proves the point. Queer people constantly come out. It's not just once. We do it every single time we're faced with a new situation. Yeah.
It's hard for me.
Yeah. Excellent. Well, you know what? You made it through the list. You guys were brilliant.
That's those rapid.
Yeah. You totally did it.
So here's a chance where we get to ask, what's up next for you? Do you have anything planned yet?
Who, me? Yeah. Well, I got an audio book in the works. I have interviews. What's going on is Paris seems to be interested. So I'm doing podcasts in Paris for French and American people. And I know the French are interested in this. I've done my one-woman show in French, which Stephen helped me do, as well as English. And I would love to do the book and get the book written in French. Why not? To see if it works. And then the other thing is I'm sort of up for a reality TV show. And we're hoping a dating.
I will be in line to watch. You tell them you've already got viewers.
Oh, no. Who knows? We don't know.
Yeah.
But that's because of the book. People know I'm a comedian and, she's just lighthearted fluff. If you're a comedian, ha, 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 tell me a joke. But now that I've written a book, people, even my manager, is taking me seriously because they think I have a brain. It's fascinating. So it's opened up a whole new world.
Where is the best place for people to follow you to get the updates on where all this is going? Your website? Is there a social media site?
Yeah, my website, www.dyanforest.com. I'm social media, Dyan Forest. I'm on, I guess, Instagram. I have a publicity person who does all this stuff. So anywhere you look, and I'm on YouTube a lot, Dyan Forest, a lot of my comedy.
And for audio listeners, that's spelled Dyanforest.
Yeah. D''YIN helps, Forest.
Yep.
It's all not a real name, but it's for show business.
It's you. It's you.
Right.
It's me. And my book is on Amazon, when you read it on whatever you call it,
Your Kindle or your, Mm-hmm.
What do you call it?
A Kindle.
And then it's not a paperback.
Right.
I did it my way.
I did it my ways, yes.
I did it my way. So you can read me anywhere.
Nice. Stephen, what's up next for you?
Here is my book.
Perfect.
Brilliant.
Okay.
Very good. Very saucy.
All right.
All right, Stephen. So.
Yeah, well, I was gonna got that, and also.
Yeah. That's what she said you were going to get up again.
As well, which is
What's that?
The Spy Who Inspired Me.
Oh, that's his new book. Yeah.
It's a spoof on James Bond. It's about an Englishman called Ian Lemming, not Ian Fleming, for obvious reasons, who it's a kind of revenge of the Bond girl on Bond, because Ian Lemming, the Englishman, gets stuck on a beach in Normandy in 1944 with a young female spy, and she teaches him everything he needs to know about espionage. So it's kind of, and she's young and beautiful and strong, and he hates it because she humiliates him all the time. So he starts to imagine this very macho spy in a tuxedo, champagne sort of life, instead of crossing occupied Normandy, hiding in barns, not being able to shave, not having enough cigarettes. So he kind of imagines this Bond-like figure because he's being humiliated by a real woman spy. It's inspired by some of the stories of real women spies in the Second World War, English, American, Polish, Czech women who were sent over to France, often to do very dangerous jobs like radio operators. Most of them were captured and killed. It was a very dangerous job. And this is one of those, but passing on her knowledge to this Englishman, Ian Lemming, who's then going to go on and write books about them. So it's a kind of Bond spoof set in 1944, The Spy Who Inspired Me. And it was kind of messed up by lockdown because it was due to come out at the same time as the new Bond film came out. But it's been put back twice. It's coming out now in sort of October, November, so I hope to relaunch it again then.
Perfect.
It's a kind of comedy spoof spy story. But, so that's next for me. And then, as I said, I really hope to be coming over to New York and doing a show with Dyan there, or doing it here in Paris as well, because in some of the here as well. So that would be
Where's the best place for people to keep up with what you've got going on?
Me?
Yeah.
Well, I have my website, StephenClarkeWriter.com. I'm on Facebook. Stephen Clarke. You just have to spell my name right. Stephen Clarke with an E on the end. I do Twitter as well, at @SClarkeWriter, I think. I'm not fantastic at social media. I kind of do it when something actually happens or when I see or think of something funny, which isn't all that often, So, I don't post every minute, but, you can scroll through my tweets and you might have a bit of a laugh.
All right. Well, and you do post updates like the book releases, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Any final words of wisdom?
Words of wisdom. I would say, try thinking the Dyan way, which is it doesn't matter, it doesn't matter how old you are or how, just do it. I mean, someone else has stolen that slogan. It should be Dyan's slogan, Yeah, and yes, you can. Yes, you just do it. Get up on stage and talk about it, or do it, or what energy you have, use it for something, which Dyan is still doing, and it does inspire me to sort of keep doing stuff, because I think you've only got one chance. I'm not a Buddhist or anything, so I've only got one chance at life, and you might as well do it the Dyan way, which is do it to the full.
I tell everybody just keep going. I'm playing golf almost every day, swimming. And I was lying in bed less than a year ago. So you got to just keep going.
There you go.
All right, folks, this is Written on the Edge. The Rogue Podcast is produced by Rogue Ravens Media. For our disclaimers, links to social media, our listen stations, or to sign up as a guest, visit www.roguepodcast.com. We'd like to extend a huge thank you to Dyan and Stephen for being with us. Thank you guys so much.
Thanks for you.
This was one of the most brilliant conversations that Vance and I have had in the 6 years we've been doing this.
Yep.
It was truly, truly magical. Thank you so much.
So, folks, pick up I Did It My Ways and enjoy your read, because I know you're going to. We'll talk to you all soon. Bye-bye.
Oh, what's that? Closing time. The bums rush in melody, dear.